Howdy, howdy.
Howdy.
And welcome to But It Was Aliens, the extraterrestrial comedy podcast where we take everything seriously. We do not laugh at supposed alien incidents here.
Us? Never.
Today we're talking about lizard people.
Excuse me. So we're talking about lizard people today.
Lizard people, yes.
In terms of lizard people, are you talking lizards spliced with humans? Reptile from Mortal Kombat?
He would be a lizard person, actually, yeah.
He would.
Took off his mask, he was a lizard. Spat acid.
Reptile.
Indeed. So yeah, we're talking about reptile today. Today, we are heading to Torriglia in Italy for this probe. Italy is a country close to my heart because they are closely associated with pizza and pasta, which are the main staples of my diet. Pasta is likely descended from Asian noodles, but pizza is reported to have originated in Naples. See, we are serious as well as educational on this show.
We are an educational podcast.
So on to those lizard people. Pier Zanfretta was a 26-year-old private security guard. On the 6th of December 1978, Pier was out doing his job, which, similar to us, was keeping the world safe. As Pierre was driving around an unoccupied house belonging to one of his clients, his car radio, lights and engine all cut out. Pierre saw something strange by this house he was guarding. Pierre noticed 4 lights coming towards him. Car dead, strange lights. At this point, what would you do?
I would. So I've got no form of electricity.
No?
So no radio, no nothing like that.
Completely dead, yeah.
Okay. I would reach for my ancient weaponry, my trusty nunchucks.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Nunchucks or numchucks?
Nunchucks.
Chucking nuns.
Street grannies.
No, don't mess with those.
And call them in for backup. So, yeah, I'll grab my trusty nunchucks, step outside. I wouldn't necessarily show them straight away. You never know what's out. You want to catch them by surprise. And I'd literally just be on my guard, waiting.
I'd leg it. I'd be gone. I'm out.
Seems like we've
Switched
roles.
places. Yeah, thinking about this. I'd probably be thinking there's no way it's aliens. And I'd go out and have a little look to see what it was. So Pierre did what any good, friendly security guard would do. He was security, remember, and his first instinct was that these lights were the torches of thieves. Pierre drew his revolver pistol and approached the lights like he was Dana Scully. As he approached, Pierre noticed that what he was looking at was 10 feet tall. That's bigger than Andre the Giant. But if that wasn't scary enough, Pierre could see that there were several green-skinned creatures. And even more disturbingly, the creatures had mouthpieces in. These bastards were ready to fight.
10-foot tall green UFC fighting motherfucker.
10-foot tall Conor McGregors with green skin. You're right, laddie. I'm going to take you. I'm the fucking best.
Just, did they all do that walking
Walk
down
with his elbows.
Yeah.
The Vince McMahon strut. Come on, you bastard. Come on. I'll have you.
So how far away were the lights when he got out of the car?
Well, he was going around the house. So...
Because at 10 foot tall, you would have thought you would have seen them coming. Or did... Oh, hold on. So
Yeah,
I thought his car cut out and the lights were in front of him. Not that the car cut out and then he saw the lights and headed towards them.
So he saw the lights whilst he was in the car.
Yeah.
And he got out and went towards them. So he got closer and
initially
closer to
thought
them. Obviously, if this is a craft, it could have landed and the creatures could have got out and go closer towards him. By creatures, I mean Conor McGregor, obviously. Come on, you bastard.
Green Conor McGregor's.
Yeah.
I can't stop picturing that strut now.
The creatures also had large spikes coming from their heads, like unicorns. So we've been here before, haven't we? Man approaches aliens with weapon drawn. How do you think that's going to go down?
They're just going to fuck you up.
Arm bars?
Hence why I said I am holding that weapon back.
Would nunchucks be enough?
If you use them right.
Said that so confidently, like you're a fully trained nunchuck artist.
Who knows? I might very well be. There are different training rooms at MIB headquarters.
I actually qualified in level 3 nunchuckology.
I've got 8 pairs of nunchucks. And each one represents the belt level that I went up to. So, if you want to bring it on, you can bring it on.
I took 3 classes in throwing stars.
So you could say that I'm a professional.
I am fully qualified in ninjaism.
I can take a... I have learned the deadly 1-inch punch and can take a man down in less than 10 seconds. I have demonstrated this numerous times on my 2-year-old brother, and if any of you try that shit, you will soon find out.
I am grade 3 wedgie doer. Right, I need to move on. We're just going to keep on going all night.
People have tried to give me Chinese burns, the Chinese dragon, as it is known in some parts of the world. That doesn't work on me.
I am a red belt in karate. I have an artist... Oh, you're going to do it again, aren't you? I can see you're ready to burst with another.
I'm a black belt in knuckles.
What a game.
Other known in other parts of the world as raps. We've done it with 2 packs of cards that have been held together by an elastic band. A weapons grade elastic band.
To me, hogs are a deadly weapon.
Have you ever killed a man with a pyro? Alright, I'm stopping there.
I have an artist's impression of what Pierre saw, if you'd like to browse these images for us.
Okay.
I'll upload these on our Instagram.
So the one on the left shows 2... They're like giant frogs?
They're lizard-like.
Yeah, lizard/frog-like, with 3 spikes on either side of their heads, but it's all in one. So it's not like a head and then 3 spikes coming out. The spikes are part of their head, as if there's no separation point.
Maybe their ears.
Okay, they have, in the picture on the left, they have 6 ears. And is that the... It looks like they have a harmonica in their mouth. I get it. They're gimps.
Oh, I was just thinking that looks like a suit that one of them is wearing.
That is a leather... That's a gimp suit.
They're gimps.
This is a lizard gimp.
I'm a level 6 gimp.
Even with this harmonica mouthpiece, I could still take a man down.
Strange foreheads as well, aren't they? Like,
it's like the cranium.
Yeah, you can see the veins.
Solid.
So has this or either picture changed your mind as to what is about to happen?
I feel sorry for the security guard simply for disturbing their gimp session. Their S&M night has been ruined, and he is going to get ruined for ruining it.
So what actually happened was that Pierre changed his mind and pussied out.
Good on him.
He turned around and ran. Pierre would later explain that he had felt some kind of heat beam hit him, which put the willies in him as he sprinted away towards his car and radioed in.
So it wasn't the sight of these things that put the willies in him. It was the heat beam afterwards.
Yeah, the heat put the willies in him.
Probably put the willies in him.
After radioing in, Pierre basically shat himself in a corner. He broke off all contact with his security firm and had to be found by a security patrol team an hour later. As the patrol team approached him, Pierre drew his gun on them, but luckily for everyone, he didn't fire. The two security patrolmen attested that Pierre was a usually timid family man, but seemed irrational. The pair disarmed Pierre and were shocked to discover how warm his clothes were, despite it being literally frozen that night. The floor was icy. So what are you thinking at the moment? A.
How did he radio them when his radio wasn't working?
It started working again.
Oh yeah, convenient.
Maybe it's the interference as the ship was coming overhead. That cut it out, but once they landed and turned off their engine...
No. His clothes were warm. Is it because he pissed himself?
All over?
Well,
they'd pissed on him.
He's sitting in a like little ball, isn't he?
Yeah, like huddled, completely broken.
Literally like that. And he's pissed. So it's just kind of warmed him up.
Maybe he was aroused at the same time when he saw them. Because he saw the S&M stuff. And he pissed
like
upwards.
There's not too much to go on there, really.
No, not really. I can't really.
He saw something, he ran away.
Yeah.
The fact that he didn't... Well, he did run, but it wasn't seeing them that scared him. It was a heat beam that put the willies up.
Oh, he ran away from them to begin with, but then he felt a heat beam as he was running, didn't he?
But why would that put the willies up? Oh, I suppose because of the blast.
He doesn't know what the hell it is. Yeah, it's freezing cold. Suddenly he's got a boiling hot beam on him.
I was just picturing him legging it, and he got scared when the beam hit. Well,
in his eyes, he's about to die, isn't he?
Mm.
The security patrol team went back to investigate the scene Pierre had explained, as did the Italian military police.
Ooh.
You're probably thinking this is bull at this point, but they found evidence. In the ground, about 20 inches long, were extremely large footprints. Bearing in mind a size 16 foot is about 12.5 inches, these footprints would be way over size 30. The largest human feet ever recorded were 18.5 inches and belonged to and they belonged to 8'11" Robert Wadlow. Sultan Kozan, who is the world's tallest man at the time of recording this, at 8'3", has feet around size 24-ish. Did you know that massive hands and feet are also associated not with big dickery, but with health problems? Anyhow, here's a photo of the footprint, Mr. Me! So you can see Yep. Definite footprint there. The quality is pretty good.
Well, I wouldn't say that is a footprint. So these, or if it is, these reptiles have shoes.
Right.
Why would they need shoes?
Why do we need shoes?
They're reptiles.
They're reptile people.
True. With shoes.
And suits. Just like us. Protects you. You can never have too much protection.
So, the picture in front of me shows a human foot next to an outline of the supposed foot imprint.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like I said, just looks like a giant shoe mark. Is there only the one?
Well, there were a few, I think, but that was the best one.
Because if there is only one, that could have been caused by anything.
So that's the only picture I have.
Okay.
They describe them as footprints, which implies there's more, but The evidence I've seen is the best photo of one.
Those feet are massive.
They are wide as well as lengthy. Girthy and lengthy.
I feel sorry for anyone that disrupts their S&M.
So in addition to the giant footprints, the patrol also found evidence of scorching amongst the surrounding trees, which should have been frosty.
Ooh.
So we have actual physical evidence that something happened. We don't have any mummy?
We don't have a mummy.
Oh no, mama! We don't have any money or fame seeking going on here. It was actually noted that Pierre shunned the limelight. He did not want any fame. Single incidents are always the most convincing to me. Like if he'd gone on to live a life of claiming aliens all the time, like people we shan't name, you start to think, nah, mate. But a one-off is more believable for me, at least.
Definitely.
So the military commander actually believed Pierre's account upon finding the evidence. Meanwhile, 52 reports had been received from Torriglia citizens seeing a UFO in the region of the house Pierre was protecting. You can't argue with this evidence, can you? 52 people.
You actually can't. Well, you can, but you can't. But you can. But I'm not gonna.
But I might. I might not. Or will I? Who knows? Not me.
So, did the reports come in before?
Around the same kind of time as all this was going on.
Okay, so did the security team came and found Pierre? Mm-hmm. So did they just call the military police straight away?
I believe they called it in, yeah.
So did the police turn up at the same time or a little bit after?
Well, it took them a little time to get there. They weren't instant, obviously, but they came shortly after.
Because I'm just wondering, like, chain of command, security guard, completely skip the police and head to military?
Security guard called security firm he works for, who have contact with the police and whatnot because they work in security. So then they called it in, escalated it, and it got escalated to the police, the military police.
I mean, they got out there pretty quick without any evidence, unless obviously they got they were starting to get reports.
So whilst this was going on, you'd imagine that the police were getting calls.
Yeah, calls.
If there was 52, you'd imagine they were spread over a little bit of time, wouldn't you?
And then obviously, yeah, makes sense. Ooh, lizard people.
So Pierre agreed to undergo hypnosis after much persuasion from one journalist who seemed to take Pierre seriously. I don't know if it's D or Di Stefano.
Probably D. But why would you undergo hypnosis if you already can recount what happened?
Well, he was reluctant and they kept on pressuring him until he gave in. So it wasn't him wanting to undergo it. It was, you got to obviously think, once people get wind of a story, they want to know more. They're thinking, well, maybe he doesn't know everything that happened.
Maybe something else happened, or he saw something that he can't remember that he saw.
He just wanted to be left alone, but others wanted to know more.
The fact that he wants to be left alone is quite a telling sign.
So on December the 23rd, 1978, Dr. Mauro Moretti put Pierre under, whereby Pierre revealed that he had not just seen creatures from another world, but that he had been abducted. The lizard men had transported Pierre to a hot location where they physically examined him, and whilst they didn't speak Italian, the creatures had a device which translated what Pierre was saying and what they said too. Pierre shared that the lizard people came from planet Tetonia, located in the third galaxy. The lizard people had told Pierre that they want to talk with humans and will return one day in large numbers. I should add that time may be different for species from other worlds, and soon could mean quite literally anything. But here is a picture of Pierre under hypnosis, so you can see that this did indeed happen.
And I suppose if they took him to a hot planet, that would explain why his clothes were warm.
And you got to remember, as he turned around, he suddenly felt heat on him. Boom, consciousness gone.
Yep, they took him, brought him back.
And he was hot to the touch in freezing conditions.
Was he really under? Was he hot to the touch or was he just warm?
He was hot. Smoking hot. Fun piece of hair.
Okay. I'm starting to turn.
Mm-hmm. You were in, then you were out.
Nah, maybe in again.
So 20 days later, on December the 26th, 1978, the aliens returned. This time, they got him. As Pierre was driving his car, it began responding to inputs not of Pierre's doing. Then, it stopped, and a bright light surrounded the vehicle. Pierre was heard on radio by the security firm saying in a trance-like voice,
The car has stopped. I saw a bright light. Now I am getting out. They say I must leave with them.
The security firm sent assistance, and when they arrived, the roof of Pierre's car was boiling hot. Huge footprints were found in the ground again. Pierre's gun was found with 5 shots fired, but Pierre had no recollection of leaving his vehicle. A full public inquiry took place, and the case was eventually closed with no crime committed. The security firm had Pierre's mental health evaluated.
He gets out. Well, obviously he doesn't remember getting out. But he says in the voice, the car's stopped. I saw a bright light. I'm getting out. I must leave.
Yeah.
Why was the gun fired? Like, at no point in there does he sound under... I wouldn't say that he's not under duress, but
Maybe
he doesn't sound like he's about
So they
to fire a gun.
said he sounded like he was in a trance. Maybe as he got out and started going with them, he started coming to a little bit and tried to fight it and fired at that point.
So only the top of his car was boiling hot.
Yeah.
Not the rest of it.
Yeah. And again, this is December. Unusual,
Yeah.
I think it would be fair to say.
Huge footprints found in the ground again, but there's no evidence of it, no pictures, just word.
Yep. Just word and footprints.
And
And the recording, obviously, they heard him in the trance-like voice.
you haven't put it in, so I'm not going to ask if you've
I
got
don't
it.
I don't have the recording.
The case was eventually closed with no crime committed. I mean, technically there is a crime here, but there isn't a crime here at the same time. Like, you're not going to hold aliens accountable.
Hey, you abide by the laws of the country you're in.
Well, you could hold them accountable, but that's going to look pretty funny
Question.
going up to your boss.
Is a spider monkey walking down the street accountable to the same laws of man?
No.
Like if a spider monkey takes a bit of money out of your pocket, are you going to do it for shoplifting or for robbery or whatever?
Technically, it is still theft and it committed a crime, but you're not going to hold it accountable for that crime.
So if an alien does the same thing,
Exactly the same thing. That's why I said a crime was committed, but not. They had his mental health evaluated as well. Do we have their conclusion?
I'm going to move on to that now.
Okay.
So Pierre's mental state was confirmed to be stable. Pierre would later recall the details under hypnotic regression again, this time on live television. The aliens abducted Pierre from his car and took him up to their craft, where they stripped him butt naked and attached a communication helmet to Pierre. The aliens appeared to be curious about humans and human technology. They took Pierre's gun and shot it into a sheet of metal. Pierre, understandably filling his panties, told the reptilian lizard people that he was scared and asked to be released. The alien lizard reptilian people obliged. Much of Italy watching this on television did not believe this had actually happened, which you can understand. It sounds absolutely bonkers. But there we've just had an explanation as to where the bullets went.
They seem more like scientists than like invaders. They seem like curious children. Not children, but curious observers. They want to learn rather than harm.
And when they realised that he was scared, they let him go.
Unless it's all a facade.
And
when they come back, we're dead.
They hypnotised him, made him think that they let him go, when actually things got down and dirty. They pulled out their gimp suits, they put their apples in their mouth and wrapped around it.
Their harmonicas. Each scream is a different tone.
But yeah, part of the reason I don't have this footage is because it's in Italian and you can't understand it. Well, we can't, and obviously the quality is not great being from the 70s either, but it is out there. So the aliens obliged until they abducted Pierre again on the 29th to 30th of July 1979.
What do do they have it in for him?
They're really curious about this man. Pierre was on a motorcycle patrol when he would go missing for 2 hours before being discovered near the patrol location. What was particularly interesting about the location where he was found, Mount Fash, was that only one road led to it, and not a single local resident had seen or heard the motorcycle ride up this quiet road. It was almost as if he had been dropped there from the sky. This time, Pierre underwent the administration of both hypnosis and truth serum, sodium pentothal, which is used to weaken one's resolve to resisting the truth. Again, this was in the late 70s, obviously. Pierre revealed that he was lifted from the ground whilst on the bike into a craft before later waking, where he was found by Mount Fash.
These aliens are rude bastards, really, aren't they? I mean, have you noticed whenever... Okay, there's been maybe 1 or 2 cases where that's not the case. But if these people get taken, they are never dropped back where they were. It's always somewhere out of their way.
Well, maybe that's part of the fun to them. They want to see how a human reacts when they wake up somewhere they shouldn't be.
I can kind of understand that, actually.
They're just curious. And whilst they're messing with people and it might cause long-term psychological harm, in their eyes, they might not give a crap about psychological harm. They might just be looking at our reactions thinking that it's not harming us.
True.
But yeah, Pierre had an eventful couple of years, right?
Very.
I say couple because he was abducted again.
What?
On the evening of December the 2nd, 1979. Honestly, when I discovered this one, I saw literally about 8 lines on a single account. As I probed, it just kept getting bigger and bigger. It's wonderful. So this time, Pierre went missing again whilst on patrol.
Quit your job.
How does he keep on working?
Every single one happens when he's on patrol.
Yeah.
Is he just out there getting high?
So, on this occasion...
Sorry, I was about to say, or why don't they pair him up with someone?
Yeah.
It's always him on his own.
So his colleagues formed a search party to look for him, but 4 other patrolmen, in their own vehicle looking for Pierre, had their own encounter.
Get out. Okay. It was one of these ones where I was like starting to be like, okay, this is quite mental.
Yeah.
But mental in a...
There was a lot
I could
of...
get on board with it. Mm-hmm. Now it's just getting mental and I'm kind of just like, really? Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now.
So the 4 patrolmen had noticed a cloud-like object appear above them. Suddenly, 2 columns of light shined down upon the patrolman as the vehicle stalled and the radio cut out. The men got out of the vehicle and one fired his weapon at the craft above. The lights went out and the craft vanished.
Why would you automatically just start shooting at something?
They've probably heard the stories. They didn't want to get Pierre.
Oh, wait.
They saw the Conor McGregors coming. What about you? What about you? I'll have you.
A couple of shots and they immediately disappear. So did they see the vehicle fly up? Or did it just disappear from sight, as in cloaking mechanism?
Disappeared. Just pop, vanished.
Did they fire another shot just to make sure?
Don't know. Unfortunately, one of the security patrolmen was deeply affected by this and would commit suicide months later.
Ooh.
Yep. Pierre was found shortly after, but the following evening he had a strange experience. Whilst filling up with petrol, Pierre heard a strange voice call his name. Pierre looked up to see another strange creature with an egg-shaped head. The voice told Pierre to drive into a nearby cloud, and Pierre could not help but obey. Pierre was then lifted onto a craft while still in his vehicle. This time, he was allowed to wander around a crystal mothership and saw many tubes full of a blue liquid. Pierre was shown a frog-like being suspended inside a tube and the lizard people explain that this slippy toad was the enemy species to the lizard people. Off topic for just 1 second. Why is Slippy Toad called Toad? He is literally and officially a frog. Also, have you ever noticed that he and his crew have the pieces of the Triforce on their belt?
I have. And also, is he called Slippy Toad because he's being referred to as or by his species rather than his actual name?
But he's a frog.
Same with Falco.
But Falco isn't a falco.
No, but it might be in a different world. Might be known as a Falco rather than a falcon.
So you're saying that Slippy Toad on his planet is a toad?
Yes.
And there's
on ours.
And on ours he's a frog. Even though they say that he's a frog in the official documentation of Star Fox.
On our world.
Well, why wouldn't they make that clear?
What if they don't know? Slippy. He was the most annoying character. Ooh,
he's famous for it, isn't he? He's probably the most famous character in that franchise. I think of him before I think of Fox. Because of that, he turned into a meme.
Yeah, he did, actually.
People who don't even know what Star Fox is know about...
Do a barrel roll!
Whenever I think of Star Fox, though, I can't help but do the Andros voice. No, it's not even Andros. It's the... What's the name of the...
The evil fox.
No, the commander. Or the evil fox is Wolf. He goes, Corneria. Fourth planet in the Lilac system.
Yeah.
I wonder if Lilac Wars is on
Switch. Good question. So, frog in a tube.
Frog in a tube.
Anyhow.
Tube frog.
During...
Froob?
that's what froobs are.
That's what froob...
Don't eat froobs, people.
Froobs.
Anywho, during this abduction of sorts, Pierre was offered a crystal sphere with a pyramid inside, which the aliens claimed would allow its holder to understand the aliens' world. Pierre refused the gift, however, saying that he just wanted a normal life. So the lizard men insisted and forced Pierre to take the sphere and to give it to a Dr. J. Allen Hynek.
What?
Pierre, however, once back on Earth, claimed that he hid the sphere, possibly because he didn't trust the lizard men. Dr. Hynek, who, as you know, was an American astronomer and ufologist, as well as an advisor to the US Air Force on their UFO studies. Hynek worked on Project Blue Book, and after beginning as a skeptic, would later come to disagree with Blue Book's conclusions. You may recall that Dr. Hynek came up with the Close Encounter scale?
Yes. He has come up in quite a few of our probes.
Yep. And the aliens are asking for him in this one.
That they are. I'm trying to look at his name spelled out and see if it reads anything. So they asked for him specifically.
Mm-hmm. But Pierre hid it. He didn't trust them. Pierre didn't know who the hell that was.
Why didn't he look it up?
What's he going to look it up on? This is the 70s. Or the 80s, now 1980.
Why don't you use Google?
Why didn't he pull out his street phone?
But surely the aliens would have known that he can't just go and give that to...
Well, not necessarily.
Dr. Hynek. If they were clever enough to keep coming back for him multiple times, surely they would have gone to Hynek.
They might not have any idea as to how our society works. They might just think, oh, this man's interesting. We've had him a few times.
This story is starting to slip away from me.
So only now it's starting to.
I kind of wanted to believe.
There was a sixth incident
Fuck off.
on the 14th of February 1980. Pierre went missing for several hours once again.
He's just off sleeping somewhere, isn't he?
Again.
Just in a corner.
Local residents saw strange lights in the sky at the time of the abduction, but not much else was reported for this one. Pierre was hypnotised again, but this time was uncooperative under hypnosis before saying that he was communicating with the aliens. Pierre then begun speaking a strange, unknown language. Then a further abduction, pretty much the same, happened on the 13th of August 1980, and then just like that, it stopped. What was that? 7 incidents, and one by the people looking for Pierre as well? Suffice to say, this is probably the most well-known UFO occurrence in Italy.
When people, I wouldn't say they claim to speak another language, but people say that they're speaking another language.
You can study it and you can tell if it's an actual language or gibberish by like the frequency of phonetics used and stuff.
But how would they know? They're judging the phonetics off of what we know language to be, not off what an alien language is. Could be completely different. J's could be W's, X's could be 2's. This could all be bullshit.
I guess that it's hard to argue against that, but languages consisting of like alphabets or whatever, hieroglyphics or anything, they'd have consistent sounds within them, so you can find the same sounds used.
That's what we would hear.
I suppose if there's some sort of alien language out there where they have 64 million billion trillion different letters, then you might be able to speak sentences without making the same sound. But
I mean, in some of our world languages, there are male and female words for the same word. So what's there to say that there's not something completely, I wouldn't say like that, but
a different word for depending on how big an item is for every millimeter, for example. That's getting real complex.
But that might be simple to them.
Interesting thought. So throughout every ordeal, the lizard people never really explained why they repeatedly abducted a security guard. Meanwhile, Pierre actually didn't benefit from these repeated abductions. There was an initial flurry from the media towards him, but he quickly faded into obscurity and he never tried to make films or books based on himself, as we've seen with others.
No, he just wanted to get on with his job and have a nap every now and again. But then when he realised that he'd napped too long and got caught, he had to come up with a story.
I do find it slightly amusing how he keeps on going missing on the job, yet keeps on working as a security guard.
Exactly.
They've given him a mental health examination, he's passed it, so therefore it's not like they're trying to work with his mental health here, that we know of at least. So whilst Pierre didn't make a book, that journalist, Di Stefano, did. That then became a documentary. I haven't watched the documentary this time, but I did watch the hypnosis footage, as I said earlier. It's an hour long, so we can't include it here. Meanwhile, it's also in Italian, as I said, with subtitles, but honestly, it is actually quite convincing.
Really?
Yeah. I suppose it's hard to say for definite when you're watching something in a different language, but you just kind of get caught up with it. But the only outlier in this whole thing is the Egghead Man, who sounds like the stories of the Grinning Man from West Virginia, whom we may probe at a later date. But my question before we conclude is, are these lizard aliens the same reptilian draconians that are up on Mars waging war against the humans of Mars Defense Force and the insectoids and the good reptilians?
If they are, have they come down here to test our weaponry? Like, they checked how his bullets worked against certain things and gone back up and protected themselves with different types of metals? On that MDF episode where we said it wasn't aliens.
But maybe we need to go back and readdress that. So there's also an ancient cave painting in Tassili National Park within Algeria's section of the Sahara Desert, up to 12,000 years old, which looks a little like the beings Pierre described. I've got that cave painting in photo form for you here now.
Is it possible that Pierre saw this picture? Because like you said, that although they don't look identical, you can definitely tell that they are similar.
They definitely are similar. It's like a 10-foot creature with the same pointy head with the points on the side.
Is that humans in the background?
I think so, yeah.
Have they come to teach humans, or are they running away?
Looks like they're all talking to me, but does anything else jump out about that lizard creature there for you?
You on about the tail?
I'm on about Buffalo Soldier.
I've had to zoom in. Yeah, the tail.
He's got space hopper balls. That ain't no tail.
But I think because the other pictures in the background are they praying to him?
Possibly.
The way their hands are, okay, they're either standing praying or they are bound.
Yeah, again, we don't really know. This is obviously a 12,000-year-old cave painting. And I do think it's
S&M.
It's unlikely that Pierre, being a security guard who just wanted to live his life, would have seen this, but obviously I couldn't rule that out. I don't know when the cave painting was discovered. I went on a massive dive trying to find anything in ancient history that looked like these things, and I found that.
That better be real.
The painting?
Yeah.
It is real, yeah.
Okay,
There's lots of paintings in those caves.
I kind of want to see more of them. I'm 60-40. Not telling you in what direction.
So, yeah, this is where we're going to wrap it up. We've had Pier Zanfretta being abducted, then hypnotised, then abducted again and again and again. He was mainly experimented upon and his weapon tested by the lizard people who were 10 feet tall, telling him that they'd be back in larger numbers soon. Physical evidence including massive footprints, scorched trees, a hot car roof, and Pierre himself being hot to the touch were left behind. Meanwhile, guards looking for Pierre also experienced an incident so disturbing that one of the four unfortunately ended his own life. The egghead man called Pierre to be abducted again whilst filling his car up with petrol. Pierre went to the Crystal Mothership and saw a big humanoid frog in a tube before being given the pyramid in a sphere to give to Dr. Hynek, but he hid it instead. Remember, there have been over 60 additional witnesses to these events, seeing mainly UFOs in the sky, as well as the physical evidence of heat. Pierre was hypnotised several times, including using truth serum alongside the hypnosis. During his last hypnosis, Pierre began speaking in a different language and claimed to be speaking with the aliens. Then suddenly, it all stopped and Pierre faded back into obscurity. It's Italy's best known file. Do you have any final things to say on all that I've presented to you, good sir?
So it all stopped and Pierre faded back into obscurity.
Yep.
Is that because he stopped being a security guard?
I don't know.
Okay, I was on board to an extent until the Dr. Hynek stuff came up.
Yep.
And then that was just too much.
Is it possible that all the sightings of UFOs were real?
In general?
Yeah. So all the witnesses saw the same things in the sky, the same things happened. Is it possible that that stuff was real? And maybe even the first incident, there was actually creatures there, but then from there, the hypnosis encouraged his mind to convince him further things happened when it didn't?
I mean, were they?
But he kept on flashing back from that first event, hence why he kept on going missing and turning up in different places.
Were they even creatures? I mean, he was patrolling the house with someone that wasn't living there. But what was the house used for? What was kept there?
It was just a rich person's house and they didn't want anyone to...
What did they have in it? I mean, what if they worked for a movie company, for example, and had props and stuff like that, and someone was just messing around there out the back with lights and stuff, and he happened to turn and they just like shine the light on the prop as he came around the corner, or he walked around the corner and then saw something, shined it up, saw that, and then turned and legged it.
I find that one less likely than the aliens. So yeah, they'd been hired to protect an empty house. The person who owned the house was going to be away, and they were quite financially well off and didn't want to be robbed.
I'm having a hard time saying this is aliens.
So are you saying that it was aliens?
I'm saying this is not aliens.
The whole thing? You've got a
possibly the sightings of a ship. Maybe not the one where they shot into the sky, but I don't know what happened. I mean, were they bored security officers? Not to kind of shit on them, but were they bored? Did they decide to do drugs while they were on shift? One of them had a bad turn, like mushrooms or something, and hallucinated it. LSD, maybe.
To the point he ended up committing suicide.
Well, the brain obviously thought whatever they took, that was real. But not saying he did, but it's a possibility.
Yeah.
So for me, this is not aliens. However, that painting is
just so
quite
alike,
intriguing.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all sorts of unusual things in those caves. Maybe we should go back and probe those caves at some point.
Probe
where it's deep, dark and dirty. So I'm not saying that it was aliens. But this file is bonkers. It just got deeper and deeper. And after initially finding it a little amusing, I started mouldering myself, and now I feel dirty. I got so into it, like when I was finding the stuff about all the sightings in the sky and whatnot, and there were so many witnesses. I was like, holy crap, this might be it. And it's Italy's biggest, it's their Roswell, I guess you'd call it, wouldn't you? Or our Rendlesham, it's their biggest one. But yeah, I don't believe all the multiple abductions, him getting taken onto the ships with frogmen and whatnot. If you were to push me on the sightings in the sky being aliens, I'd be a lot more inclined to say that was aliens, just because the amount of witnesses and whatnot, and the fact the military police came straight out with no arguments.
Yeah.
That to me suggests that something was going on. But yeah, I can't get on board with the abductions and the frog people and whatnot.
S&M frogs, or the S&M lizards.
Any final thoughts?
No, just be careful if you see a 10-foot Conor McGregor with harmonica strapped in his mouth.
To be fair, a normal Conor McGregor is scary enough, let alone a 10-foot one.
Don't know if I'd be scared of Conor McGregor. I'd be wary, just in case he has one of his moments.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, when he just throws things at you and breaks his tour bus and whatnot. Right. Well, that's the show then, son. Thank you so much for listening to But It Was Aliens. Let us know what you think on the show. We're at But It Was Aliens on the Twitter. And But It Was Aliens podcast on Instagram. We probe each and every Thursday to keep you folks safe and protected. We let you know if the aliens are coming.
Also, if they're coming.
And if they are, the truth is up there. #PRO.